Man,
Hey,
I
Sam.
love the intro, man.
Thank you. My boy Mando did that for me. So, and that was made on Canva, by the way. Anyway, hey, fam, welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. I have an awesome another episode for you. My boy Eddie that we just met. How you doing, Eddie?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. It's another beautiful day. And, it's just another beautiful day to be alive and just change lives and do good things for good people. And just sharing this time with you is just fantastic.
I appreciate that, man, and I agree with you. You know, I'm we talked before the episode. You talked about being a philanthropist, and I like to call myself by one word, and that's a giver. I try to serve other people. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you giving your time to me for this time that we have together today, and sharing your story, and how you are trying to help other people. So with that being said, can you kind of share your story, like how you got started, why you chose real estate, and where you are today?
Yeah, man. So, my start was really, I started really young and I wanted to learn a skilled trade. And that skilled trade is going to make me $100,000 a year. I wanted to retire by 40 years old. And I figured if I worked double as much as anybody else and I continue to level up in trade skills, that I could make way more money and work double the time and I'd retire by 40 years old. And I had it all wrong. And, because the more you make, the more they take, and the more you work and the more you make, the more they take in taxes.
Exactly.
So, from that point, I decided to just continue to level up and level up through management and get paid more and more per hour. And they still, take more and more money. And then I really started to study things and I'm like, what do I need to really do to really make enough money to give back and help other people?
Right.
And over 20 years of business have taught me that sometimes you got to pivot and sometimes it's okay to do other things.
Right.
And through that, I've been now a 20-year real estate veteran. I've started and sold and exited, bought companies, scaled companies, sold them. And, real estate has always been a good tax advantage. And that's really what I've always tied myself to real estate. I started single family fixing and flipping. At that point, I decided to start buying land and building a home or two on it and selling it, and then got into larger development. And then just continued to expand and expand and expand, just chasing the dream, right? And
Sure.
from there, I started to really learn how do these guys, like the Grant Cardones and some of these other well-known names, how do they get to where they are? And it comes down to other people's money and being a good steward and being a good fiduciary to other people's money and putting it in good real estate that can earn returns and give good tax advantages.
Awesome. So you say you started in trades. What happened? What was that trade that you started off with?
Man, I was a welder. I was a Sparky. And, I was a welder. I was a mechanic. I was an electrician. And I just continued to just learn trades. I was a machinist. And then I got into maintenance, mechanical, electrical, and then industrial automation. So PLC, CNC, computer programming.
Oh, wow.
And, started my own business and then started my second business. At one time, my wife and I was running 8 different companies.
Oh, wow.
I don't tell you that to be egotistic or prideful. I tell you that because I've learned a lot.
Sure.
And I now know what is the one thing that you should focus on and not many other things.
So quick question on that. Were all 8 businesses in the same industry that supported one another, or were they kind of separate in their own?
Yeah, some spoke to each other, some didn't. There was definitely ones that was more of consulting that was totally outside of what we did as our core business. But, the ones that really continued to build onto was the ones that had an additional service. We started another business, added people to it.
Right.
And then I decided to start really scaling some of that back. And it really wasn't until I had met a gentleman that really that really put it in perspective. And he said, Eddie, what would it be like if you didn't have a job? And, we all would run around and ask ourselves, what it would be like if we didn't have a job. But what I had essentially done was created a bunch of companies that I employed myself. And I created my own job. And, what he wanted me to do was really get back to, you know, my free time and my creative abilities and to really think. And, like the book, Think and Grow Rich, that is this, there's no more of a true title than that. It's really, if you think, you can really grow rich. And, I don't no longer trade hours for dollars. I get paid to think.
That's awesome. It's funny. I just last year, I just renewed my membership, I should say, to an entity called Owners Club, and it's in the
Mhm.
sub community with Pace Morby. And that's one of the things. It's called Owners Club for a reason, giving you that owner's mentality, right? Not becoming a worker in your business, but
Right.
being an owner and having people work for you. You don't, you kind of step back, let them run the operation, so that if you wanted to take a week or two vacation, that you don't have to sit there on your vacation on your computer. You of course you want to check in every once in a while, but ideally you want to be able to allow your business to run by itself without you in it. So
Yeah. I think that's the thing, man, is, everybody needs to really lean in on creating a life they don't need a vacation from.
sure.
And I think a lot of us miss that because we think that we're put here on this earth to work, pay bills, and die.
Yeah, right.
And we're not actually here for that reason at all. We're here to shepherd, steward, help, and give to others. And I think when we miss that golden opportunity, we find ourselves in our own state of depression and state of destruction.
I have to agree with that. So can you share with us your first deal? Can you
Oh
remember
man.
back to your first deal and tell us how that went?
Yeah, I definitely was more eager than I had experience, and
Aren't we
I
all?
never, yeah, I never was afraid of anything. I think that was probably one of my biggest issues was I was afraid of nothing. I just figured out it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because I was never afraid to go learn something new. So, we got into it, and my first deal went absolutely amazing, and I think it was just pure tenacity of just not going to fail, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it. And I worked really hard and I was okay with working hard. It was
Sure.
really the second deal that really cost me a lot of money. And that second deal, I didn't run it like a business. I run it like it was a real estate deal that I was going to make a lot of money on. I was going to make 80,000 bucks in a very short period of time. And it was kind of a fix and flip,
Sure.
and we opened it up and there was a can of worms, and I was not at the time equipped to take care of that. I didn't have the education,
Right.
and I think that was really the point where I put in a lot of work. We saved the deal. I didn't lose anybody's money. Knock on wood. I've lost money of my own, but I've never lost a single dollar of investors' money.
And that's always the goal, right?
That is the goal, because you have one name, one company, and that's how you're remembered.
Awesome. So we've already had a conversation, so I know a little bit about yourself. So what are you doing now? How are you involved in real estate? What is your projects that you focus your time on?
Yeah, man. So we own a lot of multifamily. We've owned and operated that for a little while, but that's really not my most exciting passion. Is I love creating. I'm in the help business, and now today we really focus on real estate development, and we take raw land opportunities, and we really like to either entitle or find shovel ready projects that they just don't have an appetite to actually do the horizontal construction of that,
Right.
and we take that land and I general contract it. I hire subcontractors. We build site ready pads for regional and national home builders.
That is awesome. And how are you generating these deals? Because I mean, it's you can go online, you can do land and find land, but is that what you're doing? Are you doing your own research? Do you have people that know that you're in that business, and are they bringing you these opportunities? How does that work for you?
Man, in life and in business, it's all a relationship game. And you can work really, really hard and spend a lot of money on programs to go find deals. And you can find a lot of bad deals on LoopNet,
Right.
or you can build a network of people that know what you do, know how well you do it, and find people that want to partner with you. And that's your highest and best use of time, is a network.
So on that note, networking, most of the people that have watched this channel, I've already shared with them that through my journey, I don't say I had to, but I chose to find mentors along my path, right? Good or bad, mentors nonetheless,
Yep.
and invested into mentorships. And in that time, those communities, I were able to network with different people. So in your journey, did you do the same thing? Did you acquire mentors, or did you do networking, whether you went to like real estate conventions, meetups? How did you start building your network?
Man, I'll tell you, before I could really take off from my business ventures and stuff like that, I would say I had 100 different mentors. And I started with reading books. And I used the authors as my mentor. And I would study it. And then YouTube and everything that I could consume. Like I was just a content junkie and a book reading junkie and audiobooks, anything I could consume. At one time, I was probably traveling 60, 70,000 miles a year. And I was just consuming audio consistently as
Right.
much as I could, because those were my mentors, because what they had already done was a roadmap or a blueprint for myself. And I really like to look at life as like my last lecture, or how does my eulogy read?
Okay.
So how do I want to be remembered?
Right.
And from that, I can reverse engineer everything that I do. And it's a faster path than just going through things. So I feel that mentorship is absolutely the number one thing that you should do. And getting in the right group, don't find mentors that haven't done it, find mentors that are there. So I attended a lot of real estate conferences, but I networked on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn a lot. And it was really cool to actually start going to conferences, and people actually knew who I was
Oh,
because of the following that some of the places I've created on social media.
right.
And they would come up and talk to me, and it wasn't long. You'd have, a group of 5, 10, 15 people circling around you that you're just openly having a conversation with. And I know this is a long breath answer to your
No,
question.
keep going.
Another thing I learned is when you refuse to tell people your dreams, nobody helps you. And if you
Sure.
tell people small dreams, they might say, "Man, that's really cool." But if you tell people your really big dreams and your big ambitions of what you really want to do, how you want to change this world or stuff like that, and be intentional in that, it's amazing how many people inside a network say, I agree with what you just said, and I want to help you. And people want to help you when you tell people that, you want to make $100 million a month, or you want to go sell a $1.2 billion company, or you want to build something like this. You want to end homelessness. People are willing, and they see that your conviction in it, and they're like, I want to help this man get there. And I want to, because you got to do it together, right? Takes a
Absolutely.
network, takes an army.
Yeah. I learned that the hard way. I try to do the solopreneur route
Yeah.
and realize that you can't do it alone. You got to kind of, and how can I put this? You got to trust in people that they're there, to do well. Trust but verify, of course, right? Because there's not
Man,
always.
that's it. That's it. That's what I always say is trust but verify. It's not that I don't trust you, it's I don't trust your lawyer.
Right. So, as I mentioned before, I've tried to get into the multifamily uh, industry. And one of the things that a lot of people that are trying to break into that is the cost involved in most of those deals. So, can you share with the audience how you overcame or how you were able to, let's say, your first investment into multifamily? Were you the capital raiser? Did you just have some friends that were willing to get into a small? Can you share that experience with the audience?
Yeah, I built myself up over a period of time, gaining my net worth and liquidity and my business wherewithal. So
Okay.
I knew kind of from the construction background what it took to manage construction. I
Right.
knew what it took from an operations standpoint, how to manage a business. So when I got into the big boy multifamily world, I had enough mentors that I had listened to, and I felt like I had enough experience. Our first large multifamily deal, we built a fund straight out. So we had done a JV, stuff like that, but we built a fund, $20 million fund right out of the gate. And we were raising capital in our own fund and deploying our capital alongside best in class operators.
Awesome. And that's what you got to do, right? I didn't know. They said go be a capital raiser. I'm like, great. Okay. Where do I raise this money from? Right.
Right. And the thing is that's what's often taught, but they don't teach you the risk that's involved in that because there's a lot of legal structure. If
Right.
you're not a broker dealer, you could face a lot of issues. The sponsor of the deal could face a lot of issues. But, I think that evolved from everybody's trying to scramble to raise capital for their deal. So if they can find 100 people to go raise capital for their deal, it's easier on them.
Right.
But that's not the moral and ethical way, in my opinion, to do real estate, because I feel like if you're committing to taking somebody else's money and deploying that into any deal, you should be a part of the operations. You should know the risk. You should be able to train your investor of the risk, and you should have a legal structure of documents that you're a part of that they're signing. Because at the end of the day, that's their money.
Agreed. Yeah. When I first started trying to do capital raising, I thought all I had to do is present the deal and then let that person decide whether they want to invest in the deal or not. And
Yeah.
if they did, that was the end of my responsibility. Not realizing that I had to what's the word, nurture that relationship, right? Keep that person involved in the deal, let them know what's going on, how the deal's going, how the project's going. Um, make reassuring them that the investment is solid and that they will receive their returns as promised, or if there is happen to be, heaven forbid, but we all know it happens, that there's a kink in the project, that they're aware of it ahead of time and not like maybe hear it on CNN or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of
So
course.
make sure that you're telling your investors what's going on. They rather hear it from you than somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. And I've always been an under promise, over deliver type person.
Yeah,
And also that comes from the ability to say no. So a
sure.
lot of the times, people would reach out and want us to put equity with multiple deals, raise capital. And I just simply say no, because at the end of the day, if I wasn't a part of the operating agreement, if I wasn't a part of actually being in control of the destination or the direction that asset was going to go through its maturity and investment maturity, then I didn't want to be involved because I wouldn't have control of my investors' money that I deployed.
That's awesome. So last time you and I talked, we talked about how you like to give back and provide an education to people at an affordable price, not like some of these national guru programs. Can you share that program with people? It's so funny that you had brought that up in the last time we talked, because like a day or two later, somebody had mentioned they wanted to invest in one of those national guru. I said, hold on, I'm about to interview a guy on my podcast. You might want to wait till you hear this podcast and see if this is something for you before you go and invest. So can
Right,
you share
right.
that with everybody?
No, I appreciate that. And yes, absolutely. So for me, I want to start from the top and I want to work my way into it. I want to start with why I decided to start this program. So first and foremost, I never really wanted to be, I didn't realize I wanted to be a mentor.
Right.
And, I started probably the hardest path by starting a fund, raising capital. Like I didn't start as a syndicator. I've certainly done syndications, but it wasn't until somebody had came up to me and they said, Eddie, you should absolutely teach people about how to start a fund. And I was like, well, there's programs out there, that teach you how to do fund launch and stuff like that. I feel like the market's flooded. And they said, no, but Eddie, you've actually done it, built it, deployed money, operated, done construction. Like you have a tremendous amount of money you have a tremendous amount of experience to offer people, and they could pay you. And I didn't feel quite good about being paid at such a high dollar amount.
Sure.
And from that, I decided, okay, what does this look like? And then I really got super involved in a company. And when I did, I really got burnt down and kind of burnt out. And I really asked myself why I was so burnt out. And it's because I wasn't helping other people. And that really bothered me.
Right.
And then I reached out to a friend that was kind of a mentor. And I said, man, I don't really know what to do here. We're feeding this company a lot of money. We're having some issues with the current market we're in. And I just have a really hard time with what we're doing. And he said, Eddie, you're empty. You're not helping anybody. And I was like, yeah, but I can't go like the rest of these guys and charge people $40,000 and find out that they're not cut out to do multifamily. They're not really, they want to do it because they see me with maybe the lavish lifestyle they think I have. And they see these other gurus on YouTube and everything else, and they want the private jets and all this stuff. And they think that I'm that avenue to get there, but yet I'm hurting them by charging them $40,000 to find out they don't have the skin, the time, or the network of people. Like, you can't do this alone.
Right.
And so I'm like, I know I don't want to do it. And he said, well, Eddie, you're a smart man. I'm sure you'll figure it out. And, that was not the answer I was looking for at all.
Of course not. Yeah.
So as it evolved, I started doing mentorship, $25,000 a year, one-on-one coaching. And I would coach people for 1 year, and I only want to coach 25 people a year. And, that worked out pretty good. But at the same time, I was only helping 25 people. And I'm like, this is not good. Like, I want to help the masses. And a lot of people didn't have 25,000. And I wanted to help the MVPs, the most vulnerable people, the people that have a calling, that are stuck, and they have a job and they have some kids, and they've got this dream that they're the one that's going to change their family tree forever. Like, they're going to change the family name for the better, but yet they don't have 25 or 40 grand. And how do I give all my experience at a low expense? So we built a community, and we built a community that actually right now is like $30 a month. And it's less than $30 a month. And, we do live Q&As every week. And it's actually turned out to be like group coaching instead of live Q&A, because people are just all ears. Right. And then we keep all the recordings in a really fancy app that is part of Go High Level, which is the Capitalist Pro. Right. And we built that out to just help. And there's well over $40,000 worth of materials inside that. But I noticed that people actually don't even watch a lot of the self-guided videos, that they actually come to listen live and do something like this right here, because that's how they learn.
Right.
And, I had a good friend that went to a mentorship program. He spent the 40 grand. And after he went through it, he's like, Eddie, this ain't what I want to do. Like, I don't have a team of people. I don't have a capital raiser. I don't have an investor relations. I don't have an acquisition specialist. I don't have a guy that can be my CEO. I don't have a CFO, and all these things are what it takes to actually build a company.
Right.
And he's like, I spent $40,000 to find out that I didn't want to do this. And I've heard lots of stories of that. And I'm like, how can I truly help people without them blowing $40,000?
Right.
So that's really how my kind of mentorship membership community really evolved, was figuring out, like, how do I help people without impacting their grocery bill, and without taking food from somebody and taking the date night from somebody. And how do I do that? Because, for somebody to dump $40,000 that's all they got, they're going to have to live extremely frugal. And it's not the end all be all, right? Because you're paying for what you're hosting this podcast to be on right now. So that's a subscription. Your
Right.
CRM's a subscription. Your website's a subscription. Before you know it, you got $800 to $1,200 a month in just subscriptions to try and build this business that's got 2 more years before it's profitable. And it's like, it takes a lot of money.
It sure does.
So that's really how that evolved. Is I was like, okay, let me really think this through, and I want to change the real estate mentorship market forever. And it's not like I have hundreds of millions of dollars to just, not pay my bills for the next 10 years, but I realize that I have enough that I can do this for a very low ticket and give a lot away. And those people that I'm teaching will then circle back and say, Eddie, I want to help you. And I want to introduce you to this person, or I want you to be on this podcast. And I think that's how organic growth really happens.
I like it. So, as I mentioned before, the name of the channel is Good, Bad, and Ugly, right? You've been in the game for a while. Can you share with the audience, a pleasant or good experience you've had in your journey, and then, and it doesn't matter which order you put this in, but then a bad one that you kind of like is a nightmare for you to relive, and a lot of lessons learned from it?
Yeah, man. The good is when you first close on a deal and everything's done and you have the celebration, you snap the pictures and they go up on Facebook, Instagram, and they're giving you the high fives and everything else. And then when you get in the weeds of the operation of things and you hire people, and say you're doing a value add opportunity and you're doing construction, and just so happens everything I'm involved in is 12 hours from my home state. And, so you got the good, and then you start to see the bad of managing things from a distance with the team. And then the ugly is you're the fiduciary. You're the guy that raised the capital. You're the guy that, say, hey, I'm going to give you this anticipated return by the time we sell this product or this property or whatever you're doing. And you realize that you got to go put your work boots back on. You got to roll up your sleeves. And, if you don't have the at-home systems and processes put together, you'll fail to them really quickly. And you will have to go pick up the trash on your property and go manage construction on your property. That's the ugly side of the business. And not many people realize that, that you've got to have people that are your partners that you'll go pick up trash side by side. You'll go manage construction side by side.
Right.
And you'll drag a refrigerator up some steps to go put it in the unit. That's the kind of people that you need to be involved with when you go do multifamily and any other business, really. You got to have somebody's going to jump in the trench with you. So the good and the bad and the ugly is really having the excitement of, you're standing next to the sign and you did it, you raised the capital and you signed the loan, you put it all together. And then the bad is when you physically start to see the new wear off, and then you're like, I got to operate this thing. Yeah. And if you physically don't have the wherewithal, the experience, or the mentor that's telling you, hey, you got to go do this, or you got to go do that, or hey, you need to implement contracts on your construction because these guys are beating you to death. You need a price sheet. What's a price sheet? A price sheet is, a product of service that they're going to provide for you that has a line by line item price. And if you're doing multifamily, like what's it cost to replace that light fixture? Oh, I don't know. Well, you need to have that, solidified.
Right.
So that's where it gets ugly, is if you don't know, that's where it gets really ugly. And you got to recreate this stuff. You got to build systems and processes.
So in other words, I shouldn't see a line item for a hammer that says $10,000 next to it.
No. Well, that's the thing, man. It's like flooring. When you're doing value add and drywall and stuff like flooring, if you bought a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom mix of a 300-door apartment building, from the rent roll and your rent roll, exactly the size of the unit. And you know how many of them you have. You should, if you raise capital for that deal. These are questions you should know. So 525 square feet, you should know what it costs to do wall-to-wall vinyl in that apartment. And you should have a price sheet for the entire year of what it's going to cost to do that. Like everything you do, you should know the outcome. Like you should know, look, if we have to replace 300 doors of vinyl, it's going to cost us $1,150 per floor plan.
Awesome. So, being a part of the multifamily investing, I know, but some of the people that are watching this may not know, is one of the biggest things you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on and make sure that you have is CapEx. So that's kind of a big piece of multifamily. Can you share with the audience what CapEx is and why it's important?
Yes, it's really your capital expenditures is really the short word for CapEx. Capital expenditures is really an account that's set up that you collect monthly income to, that you deploy that capital into keeping the property out of a deferred maintenance state. Deferred maintenance state meaning that the gutters are falling off, the soffits are falling off. You have to have money there to fix these things. It's a building. It has wear and tear. Every time you go out and start your car, there's only so many starts in that starter before it goes out. The same as there's only so many flushes in a toilet. Like you have to have money set aside to keep the upkeep and the maintenance on this property to be able to mature it. Because when I come buy it from you, if you haven't done a good job with your capital expenditures and your CapEx and anything that you've done with the property to keep the maintenance and upkeep, I'm going to beat you up on it really bad with price because the curb appeal is really bad. You have to think about your tenants. We're a mission company, so we're a community first company. So we want to make sure that when we come visit our properties that it looks good, like it's well manicured, the landscaping's done and stuff like that. And if you're not doing those CapEx items, like you're not allocating money for landscaping and all the things that goes along with maintaining the paint and the siding, like the building can really look like crap. And that really resonates to your customers, which are your tenants. So that's CapEx is a super important item that you have to maintain a good tenant base across the property throughout your 3 to 5 year hold, because you have to replace the things that are broke. Even like a leaky faucet, man, that can cost you $300,000 or $400,000 a year if you have several leaky faucets and they're not shutting off because the water bill might be $20,000-$30,000 a month.
Yeah, I learned the hard way not to put one of those sensor faucets in there because those things go bad real quick.
Because the cat's running.
They're all excited.
Yeah. Or the cat when you're at work sitting there going like this and turning the water on all day long.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you shared with us what you like to give to people to kind of give back to the community. And what I like to do when I have guests on the show is, how can people bring value to you? So in your business, what can people bring to you that either helps your business or kind of give them the opportunity to partner with you, or if they just wanted to follow you, see your journey, see you grow, or see what maybe opportunities that you're presenting to people that are outside your company. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely, man. I absolutely ask everybody to follow me because I feel that I do a lot of motivational speaking, and I also do a lot of motivational posts and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
At this current time, we all know that this world can be really tough, especially if you're going through it alone. It seems like men want to hold everything in and not really lean on a lot of other people, and even women and even younger kids in their young teens and stuff like that. So I ask people to follow me because, especially on my Facebook page, I do a lot of that posting and motivational stuff, uplifting things. So I want to see people, I want to see the entire world just rise above all the depression and anxiety that we see today, and see less dependency on prescription drugs for anxiety and depression. I want to see people really get off of that. I want to see less suicide in this world. And then next is, I feel like now is the most important time to educate yourself on how to recreate yourself properly and how to either run a business or a real estate deal properly. And I know lots of programs out there that they just don't teach operations or construction. Those two things is really the golden opportunity. It's the golden keys to growing the net operating income of a property, is operating it correctly and managing construction correctly. If you can get those two things right and you bought it right, the rest is history, and you're going to under promise and over deliver your investors. So rather than people coming to me to, help them get a deal and help them raise capital and everything else, I want them to come to me to get education, real world education, 20 plus years of doing this business. And I want them to learn, and I want them to learn how to do it well the first time and make a lot less mistakes than I've made. So that's really the second thing, is I want people to, I don't really need a lot, as a person. I don't need people to bring me deals. If you can put me on a stage with Ed Milet or, Joe Rogan's podcast, absolutely bring that to me. But at the end of the day, I want to be just a person that just gives unapologetically. And I want to be a motivational speaker in front of many people. I want to change a lot of lives. So the only help that I would honestly say is introduce me to those stages, introduce me to podcasts, and let me speak, and fill this world with positivity. But at the end of the day, man, all I really want is I want to help people, and I want to help them a lot. So bring me students, bring me people, bring the community. I want to see 100,000 people on my Zoom. I want to see 100,000 people in my community that are getting help. Like, that's what I really want to see, and not because of the money. I could care less about the money. It's a transaction. That means nothing to me. What I care about is a relationship.
That's awesome. So can you share everybody where they can find you on Facebook and Instagram and wherever?
Absolutely. So hashtag, if you actually Google, you go into Google and you take hashtag and Eddie Austin BEX, ignore the color code thing that comes up. You'll see every platform that I've ever been on, from Family Office Club to Instagram, LinkedIn, all of it. So I have the same profile picture across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All of that is Eddie Austin BEX. The BEX stands for Be Extraordinary, because at one time I was a very prideful, egotistic person, and I was very limited in that. I didn't have really good spiritual beliefs. I had always been a Christian, but I also had a lot of struggles with other things, and I kind of died to the old self, and now I am being the most extraordinary version that I can be. And that's what the BEX stand for, is to remind me to be extraordinary, because the only difference between ordinary and extraordinary is the extra.
That is awesome. I love that, man. I love that. So just for the audience, don't worry about it. If you didn't catch all that, it'll be in the description for you to look at later. Again, Eddie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. You shared a lot of knowledge and nuggets for them to chew on. And to the audience, to the next episode. See you next time.
See ya. Be extraordinary.